Welcome back to your Christmas Survival Guide. I'm Sabine Horner, and together we are building a simple, practical toolkit to help you navigate the holidays while you're grieving. Now, so far we've talked about the power of small, meaningful changes, the importance of a warm, well-balanced breakfast to set you up for the day, your helpers in the gut, and today I want to talk about something that may come as yet another surprise for you. When we eat is just as important as what we eat. Now let's dive in why your body craves rhythm and how regular meal times can become yet another anchor during the chaos of Christmas. So here's what often happens during the holidays, but even before. You skip breakfast because you are exhausted and you get up late, or you may not feel hungry in the morning because of a late night dinner the night before. But it's not only breakfast that you may be skipping. You may have some breakfast, but then you skip lunch because you're just too busy with whatever is on your to-do list. And if you are anything like me, you may not skip breakfast or lunch, but you may skip dinner because the appetite that late in the evening is just not there, or the motivation or energy to cook for only yourself. So for whatever reason, skipping meals becomes very common when we are grieving, and the holidays can just make everything worse. And with all these late night dinners and social gatherings and family Christmas dinner, it's just so common that our daily rhythm gets disrupted, and that's not really helpful when we're grieving and our blood sugar is all over the place anyway, as I explained in episode 2. So you may end up even more exhausted, irritable, hungry, or foggy brained because of an irregular meal routine. Or you may start grazing more often, raiding the fridge at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, or having that cup of coffee because of this afternoon energy crash. When we are not having a substantial meal at lunchtime, that can also happen. I had a workshop last night with some widows, and they told me that they always feel tired at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and need something to pick them up. And why? Because they only had a sandwich at lunchtime. That's not enough. You need a more substantial lunch to keep you going when you're already exhausted and your mood is low and your emotions are all over the place. You need a well-balanced meal 3 times a day. That's what my Ayurvedic doctor told me when I went to see him 3 months after Kevin died. And I was just looking haggard and lifeless, shattered and grey. You wouldn't have recognized me back then. I didn't look at all like the lively person I used to be before Kevin died. So 3 happy meals is what the doctor prescribed, and I found it difficult, really, really hard, because I was suddenly only cooking for one person, but I found a way. So let me share in this video some of my coping strategies, and hopefully some of them may also help you. Now let me explain why timing matters so much from the perspective of modern Western science and ancient Ayurvedic wisdom. Your body runs on a circadian rhythm, a natural 24-hour clock that regulates everything. And this cycle is regulated by an internal clock, and they actually found something resembling a clock in the middle, right in the middle of your brain. And the guy who discovered this got the Nobel Prize for it. And this internal clock responds to light, darkness, and also when you eat. When you eat at regular times, you're working with your body's natural rhythms. And that just makes everything so much easier, because then your body also knows when to expect food and prepares accordingly. So your digestive enzymes and your stomach acid and your bile will be ready for the food, and they will be at the right levels to break down the food and for you to get the nutrients. Your insulin response will be optimized. Your metabolism is going to function well, and your hunger hormones also stabilize. But when you eat at irregular times, when you're skipping meals or grazing a lot of the time, or having a late night dinner more often than not, this natural rhythm is disrupted. And the result? Blood sugar swings, energy crashes, low mood, hormonal imbalances, sleep issues, but also poor digestion, because your body is just not prepared for the food whenever you manage to eat something. And in Ayurveda, we talk about your Agni, your digestive strength or fire. And this fire doesn't burn constantly throughout the day. It follows the sun. At midday, your digestive fire is at its peak, just as the sun is at its highest point. And this is why we should have our main meal at lunchtime, because it's much easier for the body to digest whatever you eat at that time. And in the evening, as the sun sets, our digestive fire naturally weakens. And this is why our dinners should be light and not too late. And we still need to have about 3 hours time to process whatever we eat in the evening. But during the holidays, what happens is that we have heavy late night dinners more often than not. When we have a Christmas get together with colleagues or friends, by the time we order our food, it's already past 7:30 in the evening. And it's usually not something light. Some lamb shank or some steak or some other red meat is not easy to digest. And in the morning, as you wake up, your digestive system is also just waking up. And that's why we should have something light and warm for breakfast, as I mentioned in episode 2. And when we eat in alignment with these natural rhythms and our meals follow the strength of the sun, that's when our body can prepare properly, digest and rest. Ayurveda and Western science align beautifully here. Everything becomes so much easier when we do things in alignment with the rhythms of nature. So how do you create rhythm during the chaos of Christmas? Now I suggest something that I call creating eating anchors. Anchor 1 would be 3 meals at more or less the same time every day. And that can be different for everyone, depending on your work and your life circumstances, and whether you've got kids or not. So aim to have breakfast, lunch and dinner at roughly the same time every day. And this doesn't mean to be rigid about your meal times. And I usually have my breakfast by 9 o'clock, my lunch between 12 and 2 o'clock, sometimes even 2:30, and dinner more or less between 6 and 7. But it can also be 7:30 as an exception. But you can also have dinner at 5 o'clock if that fits better into your daily routine with your kids. Even when I'm traveling or attending events, I try to stick as close to these eating windows as I can. An overnight 12-hour fast is anchor number 2. This is what we in Ayurveda call intermittent fasting. not eating anything between 7 o'clock in the evening and 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, because you are naturally fasting when you are asleep. You can't sleep and eat, right? That's impossible. So the aim is to naturally extend the hours that you're not eating to 12 to 13 hours every day. This is not an extreme fast, and it's also not deprivation. It just allows your body to follow its natural rhythms and help you heal. Anchor number 3 is having your main meal at lunchtime. Now, I know this goes against typical Western eating patterns, but hear me out. When you have your largest meal at midday, you have the rest of the day to digest it, and you have more energy in the afternoon, you sleep better, and you wake up more rested and hungry in the morning when you have a lighter meal in the evening. And during the holidays, this could look something like this: having a warm, more substantial lunch, and then having something lighter or a smaller portion of what everybody else is eating, and during holiday gatherings and family dinners. So not everything needs to revolve around food at Christmas. And we can shift the focus from food to having more quality time with family and friends or colleagues. So this is what I usually recommend to my clients when they struggle to swap their main meal to lunchtime. And it usually works. Anchor number 4 is also not going to make me popular, I know. Stop snacking, really. When you graze constantly, and usually what we graze on is something sweet or starchy that is rapidly turned into sugar, your blood sugar rises rapidly and then plummets. And that's when we usually need to grab something fast again, and then it rises again and plummets. Too much insulin to get the sugar out of your blood makes your blood sugar levels drop rapidly. But when you eat more fiber-rich foods, you actually stabilize your blood sugar levels naturally. The other thing that constant grazing does is it never gives your digestive system a rest. And this can cause what is called small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. I know, quite a mouthful. It means that bacteria that normally live in the colon migrate into your small intestine because there's unprocessed food there that is fermenting and rotting and attracting harmful bacteria that thrive on that sort of unprocessed food. And the result is a lot of gas and bloating. Fact is, you shouldn't be needing to eat anything between breakfast, lunch, and dinner. When you eat a well-balanced meal at these times of the day and at regular times every day, then that keeps your blood sugar levels stable and removes the need of snacking. If you are hungry between meal times, that's usually a sign that you have been eating something that's not filling enough, or that you haven't eaten enough. But it can also be a sign that there's something else going on with your emotions and that you're eating for comfort or because you're highly stressed or anxious. So it's always worth looking into why you have this need for snacking, whether it's true hunger or whether it's emotional hunger, making you eat constantly. I also realized that not snacking is like asking a fox not to hunt chicken when you're at a Christmas gathering and you're surrounded by all this tempting food at Christmas buffets or at family dinners. And then again, you have a choice. You can apply my 80-20 rule and be more in control at home, and then go with the flow at social gatherings at Christmas. Or you can make more intentional choices, like choosing warm over cold, because warm meals are usually easier to digest. Or filling your plate with a lot of vegetables and then pairing it with some good protein, like a fish or some chicken. That's also easier to digest in the evening. And maybe some lentils if they are available. And once you've made your choice, just go with it. Enjoy whatever treat you want to have, because stressing about it can also cause indigestion. I know what you may be thinking. This sounds great, Sabina, but how can I do this when Christmas is already making everything so much harder? Well, here are some of the strategies that I use in my daily life, and I hope they can help you too. The first one is anchor your regular days. So when you're at home and you're in control and you have the use of a kitchen, try to stick to 3 regular meals at more or less consistent times, or have at least a warm, well-balanced breakfast. This will give you the foundation that can support you through the irregular days. The second strategy is communicate your needs. If you're staying over with friends and family, let them know. It really helps me to have 3 regular meals. Would it be possible to have lunch at 1 p.m? And most of the time they will understand and accommodate you. And if you have friends like mine that don't bother with lunch, then ask them whether you can use their kitchen, make your own lunch, bring your own food, so that you can do it without relying on their food. And some vegetables and some protein like lentils. That's very easy and also fits into a suitcase. And in my book I mention some more things that you can do when you're staying over. The third strategy is also one that I describe in more detail in my book. Also bring food when you're traveling. Pack some simple nourishing food when you are out and about traveling, so that you are not at the mercy of whatever is available at airports or motorway service stations. And have this food like my magic lentil soup or energy protein balls at more or less the same time as you would normally have your lunch and dinner. So that can help. The fourth strategy is plan around events. If you know that you are going to have a Christmas dinner on Saturday evening, then try to stick to more regular meal times on Thursday and Friday. Have a substantial lunch on Saturday, and then have a smaller portion at the dinner party, or go with the flow. It's entirely up to you then what you want to do on the Saturday, because you've already been looking after yourself well on the Thursday and Friday. And then on the Sunday, try to get back into your more regular meal routine as soon as you can. And the fifth strategy is have a closing time for your kitchen. Decide after what time you are going to stop eating. Start with 8 or 8:30 p.m. and then gradually make it earlier, so that eventually you stop eating after 7 or 7:30 p.m. This will help you maintain a 12 to 13 hour fasting window, the one that we talked about earlier, and prevent late night grazing. And this will help you a lot with your grief. Here's a summary why meal timing is especially important when we're grieving. Grief disrupts everything: your sleep, your appetite, your routines, your sense of time. And by creating external structure, you're giving your body something to hold on to when everything else is chaotic and unpredictable. And your nervous system responds to this predictability When it knows that food is coming at regular times, it can relax and prepare. And this creates a sense of physical safety that your nervous system so desperately needs when you're grieving. Your body begins to anticipate. Now is the time for food. Churn out digestive enzymes, produce stomach acid, direct blood to the stomach. Everything gets ready and prepares for the food that you manage to eat. And during Christmas, when emotional triggers are everywhere and our routines get constantly disrupted, these eating anchors become even more important and help us cope better with grief. It's the one thing that we can control when so much feels out of our control. And here's your challenge for this week if you would like to try. Choose 3 days, just 3 days, where you're going to commit to more regular meal times, like breakfast by 9 o'clock, lunch at about the same time every day, and dinner again at consistent times, and nothing after 8 p.m. And then notice how you feel. How's your energy, your sleep, your mood, your appetite in the morning? And let me know in the comments below, did creating a more regular eating pattern make any difference? Remember, your body loves routine. It functions so much better when it knows what to expect. And creating these eating anchors is not about being rigid or perfect. It's about giving yourself structure when everything else feels completely out of sync. When you eat matters just as much as what you eat. And during the holidays, this can be yet another powerful tool to lean on. And if you would like to know more about how to step off this blood sugar roller coaster that we can end up on, and why this is important, then check out my book, Nourishing Through Loss, A Gentle Holiday Guide. It's full of practical tools and tips that you can easily follow to help keep your mood, energy, and emotions more stable over the holidays. The link is in the description. See you for episode 5, and until then, be gentle with yourself.